referendum on this issue. Put on a vote, and please vote with your conscience. And what's legal may not be moral. Let's please do the right thing as a united community. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Shu. Jean?
Hi, I'm Jill Jean, and I've been involved in this facilities discussion since my daughter came to the school district in first grade. And that was 6 years ago. So I've been on committees, we've had surveys, we've actually had 4 different surveys, we've had public input, we've tried to find compromises. I want to thank all of you for all the hard work you do. You know, I think this is truly a compromise. I don't see any of you guys jumping up and down saying this is the greatest plan ever. I think there is a bit for even BCS with this plan that we didn't get. I think LASD got things they didn't, but they also got things they didn't get. So it truly is a compromise. There is not a miracle solution. If there was, we would have had it many years ago. I also want to, right now is going to be a period of time where a lot of people are going to come out, they're going to have loud voices, they may or may not have been educated on the history, but this strikes their emotion. And so they're going to be out in force. I would encourage you to listen and vote quickly. Quickly get this implemented. We can work with change management with parents, and we can get people educated, but I think that the longer you wait before you vote, the more this is going to lead to more discussion that's just frankly not necessary. We all want peace in our community. We've been asking for peace in our community for a number of years, and I think this will bring peace to our community. I also want to point out that physically moving the school is not closing the school, and Egan is the facility that needs the most repair. A new facility for the junior high students will allow them to reach their educational goals and could be very beneficial. So again, I would just encourage you to vote soon and get this behind us so we can focus on the future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jean. Ms. Mark, followed by James Chai, Liu Ying, and John Gardner.
Hi, I'm Jerry Vaughn. I'm a parent of a 4th grader at Bullis. I've been a parent at Bullis since 2008 when my oldest daughter entered kindergarten. And I came tonight to say thank you to the folks on both boards who worked so hard to come to this agreement. I was, for one, shocked that there was an agreement, and I know that difficult decisions were made and compromises were made, and I know there are going to be lots of hits taken in the next days and weeks. But I want you to know, as an old timer, that I had actually given up that there would be ever an agreement between these two sides. And the fact that there is an agreement at all, to me, is monumental. And this might not be the compromise that I personally would have liked. I almost think that that's less important, that there was an agreement reached. And I'm not alone in thinking that. I mean, I know that not many people don't have time to come to board meetings, but I want you to know that there is a community of people out there that support you and, frankly, the LASD board who were able to come to this agreement. And we have your back in the next few days and weeks, and move forward. Where the time for standing still and not talking and not coming to agreement is really over. And I urge everyone who's feeling a lot of emotion about this issue to think about, in 20 years of the school's existence, there might actually be a home for it. I think that's long enough to wait. Again, it's not perhaps the agreement I would have come to, but I congratulate everyone who was able to kind of put all the politics aside and come to an agreement. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Mark. Mr. Chai?
As a BCS parents, I just want to express our appreciation to the board for what you have done to reach this agreement. And in particular, I want to acknowledge Ben, Angel, and Francis. 3 of you spent months and many hours to negotiate this, reach this attempted agreement. And it's a very difficult issue, and you guys navigated, negotiated, made a difficult, complex issue, able to reach this agreement. And definitely this agreement is now win-lose agreement, really address mutual interests, both district, BCS, and as well as many stakeholders. I parents talk about, we're not closing school. Actually, this is the best use of our school in this district. I think this agreement and clearly lay out a roadmap to get there. Maybe another 5 years, but this is good stuff. And let's get it going, get it voted, and become reality. Thank you again.
Thank you. Eugene, followed by Dan Gardner, Don Gardner, John Winnie, or Jan Winnie, and Wendy Yu.
Good evening, the board members. My name is Ying Liu, and I have a second grade of Bullis. About 2 years ago, when I first got involved in this facility thing, just as a parent, I got excited, about the problem, which I consider is more of a math problem than a facility problem, because I think they're measured at $115 million on the table, how we're going to spend it, and also there are 10 school sites, or 9 actually, how we're going to allocate it. So I think you probably know a lot of Asian people love, love to solve math problems. So I immediately jump in to look at, options and solutions. But after 2 years, I followed very closely. I attended almost every single public meetings, and even throw myself out there in the election last year. I heard clearly and loudly about what the community wants. I do think, the community wants long-term peace. They do not want lawsuits. They do not want to spend taxpayers' money on something that will yield nothing. So I come here to really thank you both boards, both LISD boards and the BCS boards. I kind of share the sentiment as what Harry just said. Originally, after the long battle, I thought like we would never reach an agreement. But in the past 2 or 3 months, I think, which was so quiet and silent, I actually got a sense of, I think both sides are really cooperating with each other. I got a strong sense of cooperation, collaboration, which I didn't see, at least since I got involved in this issue. So I really want to keep the momentum going. I feel like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel, where probably a path to the long overdue peace that our community needs. And I totally understand, I think the emotions that the people, particularly in the North Los Altos neighborhood, they really feel emotionally attached to Egan. But at the same time, I feel like before we take a step back and look at the big picture, everybody gets something out of this. It's not just a lose or win type of thing. I hope people get over that kind of mentality. And last but not least, I really feel like, the current proposal that from both sides, I think make a lot of compromises and is truly representative of, I think that we take, both LID students and the PCS students as, the students from the same community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yu. Mr. Nutter.
Hi, my name's Don Gardner, and I have a student in Bullis Charter, North. And I guess I'm really happy that there has been some good progress, but I'm a little disappointed about the large amount of misinformation that's flying around in the social networks. And I guess what I'd like to suggest and see more of is the Bullis Charter Board and staff and so forth start to actively address a lot of this misinformation. One of the most common pieces of misinformation I've seen in numerous postings has been that Bullis Charter is not a neighborhood school and does not have a lot of Bullis or Los Altos students. They have students from Sunnyvale, Cupertino, Mountain View, everywhere else. And while we all know here that it's 96% from Los Altos School District, and it truly is a neighborhood school when you think about it. And that is not really being portrayed very well at this point. So I guess I'm criticizing this, and I think that it would be really good if there were some active participation in some of these social networks to try to answer questions. Maybe the board can do it. Another thing that comes up is if we're gonna close down the South Campus, that in turn will potentially result in a drop in enrollment, because any parents that live south of the South Campus are probably not going to want to drive all the way up here. So then that in turn could potentially open up more space for neighborhood kids in and around the Egan School. And I guess I'd like to see perhaps some surveys or something to look into that, to then allow that to be another positive viewpoint for the neighborhood Egan students to consider, that they could actually come to Bullis Charter for their junior high needs, and they could still be on this side of El Camino Real and be very close to the school if they want to be. And that seems like something that hasn't even been thought about, but is a very viable option. Another thing that I've seen on the networks, the social networks, but of course there's a lot of misinformation, so I don't know how true this is, that is that Egan is one of the schools that is run down and has a lot of repair work that's needed for the classrooms and so forth. So I wonder if that is the case, where are the funds for that going to be coming from, and how is that going to play out over time? And then another thing I've heard is that we're going to add more portables. In fact, it was in the presentation today. But I wonder, because I hear that Egan enrollment's going to be dropping over time, does that in turn make it possible that rather than building more portables, they could take some of the classrooms that are going to start to become less utilized and start to upgrade them, do those repairs that may be needed, or I don't know, and start utilizing that rather than funds to build more portables. So I'm throwing that out as a suggestion to look into when we get to that stage in the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Jan or John Mooney, followed by Angie Yu and Yvonne Hill.
Hey, my name's John Mooney. I'm an ardent parent. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not the world's best deal, but the fact to have got to one that, is progress. I think I have a couple of points. 10 years seems terribly short. I think if we've learned anything over the last 10 plus years, time goes by really quickly, and I think this is a great opportunity to set a much longer term vision, and I think it also lets a lot of the kind of corporate memory that exists and some of the bad blood begin to wash, because if you have people who've just come through 10 years from now and never knew any of this, I think some of that baggage begins to go away. I think that's a practical thing to think about, and I know it's a big concern on the parents within the LSD community that what happens 10 years is only 5 years after the move is completed, and what happens? Oh, enrollment goes up another 500, right? Those are the concerns, and founded or not, that is one of the things. I think one of the other things that there's a lot of concern about is the perception around equity of funding. I think in particular when you look at the balance of students, particularly those on lower incomes between LASD and DCS, the published figures that Bullis proposed this year shows there's a significant imbalance in terms of how underrepresented those kids are. And those kids typically require more resources. And I think there is a fair concern, and it came up in Mountain View with the proposal there. One of the reasons I understand that proposal from the Mountain View School District was rejected was because they required a matching of the student composition. I will say that's something that we regularly say is a concern, that there's a self-selection of students into Bullis that hasn't been proactively managed by the Bullis board to make sure that there is a balance and that you're not cherry picking the most engaged, the richest kids into this school and leaving the school district in a situation where it is relatively less funded to provide for the kids who really need it. And then I think the final thing is we have to think ahead. Even if we're saying 15, 20 years, can we begin to think about some measures that reflect beyond that? It doesn't need to be set in stone. Is it gradual increases, 5% a year? Whatever it is, there's just a general mistrust, right? Rightly or wrongly, the school district doesn't trust the intention. A lot of the parents in the school district don't trust the intentions of Bullis. And a lot of the Bullis parents, I think, rightly feel a lack of trust in LASD. I think the more you guys can show a longer term view in terms of that collaboration, the more likely you're going to be able to be to win over the skeptics on both sides. Because I think we all recognize there's a decent level of good faith being shown on both sides, but equally there are some quite different agendas in terms of free schools versus public schools, and those things are there in the background, and I just don't think those things are being well acknowledged, and when they're not acknowledged and brought to the surface and recognized as a difference of opinion, people begin to mistrust the motives that sit underneath that in terms of what we really transparent about those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wendy Yu, followed by Yvonne Hill.
First of all, I want to say thank you very much for always keeping your promises, living up to all your commitments, and taking great care of us. I really mean it. I have been with Santa Rita for 4 years and BCS for 5 years. 5 years ago, I was very, very excited when I received the email from Jeff Bayer saying that a 5-year agreement has been reached. BCS will get a permanent site. With the $150 million that were passed with Measure N later, we will have enough to build a school, and both sides will be happy. I truly, truly believed in it. It was very unfortunate. Fast forward 5 years. Did any of these things happen? No. Do we have a permanent site? No. Is $150 million enough to build a school? No. Are both sides happy? No. Because all the new generations of parents come up, they had no idea what happened in the past, and they are upset. I'm upset too. I know you have objected to the purchase of the 10 site. Your wish was not granted. You have asked to spend the Measure N $150 million on existing land because that really is not enough to purchase new land and build good schools. Again, your wish was rejected. You have previously asked to share Covington. Your wish was also not granted. Why did I say wish? Because you can only request. I know you have no decision-making power. You are under the mercy of LASD. So thank you for trying to, request for the right thing. Well, personally, I'm a little concerned with the high density of affordable housing. However, I trust that both sides will negotiate and make the best outcome. I just have one thing that I want to bring up. I do not want history to repeat itself. I think I mentioned it a couple months ago. I want to make sure that the agreement that is to happen this time will really be solid and nothing can break it. Anyone who has worked on big projects that with multiple dependencies and multiple moving parts know we need to set milestones and checkpoint. A brief review of the agreement proposal says that, well, if something doesn't work, feel free to walk out of the agreement. I think this is kind of like kicking a can down the road, and what if something doesn't work? I really would like to have more commitment from both sides that we are serious and we have some mitigation strategy if something doesn't work. Please seriously consider that. I really hope that that nightmare will not happen again. And let's live very peacefully. And as Eric has nicely said, we are always going to be friends. Thank you.
Yvonne Hill, followed by Kai Zhu.
Good evening. It's a big talk for me. I got to tiptoe. Good evening. Thank you, Wendy. Good evening, everyone. I'm from Hong Kong. I follow British school system. I was a secondary school teacher. And I really adore BCS school method. I really appreciate that. It turned out I was not lucky. I didn't get in the lottery. And now my kid is at Santa Rita. But I'm telling you guys, I want to say is, I really think you guys are doing the right thing. But on the other hand, my kid is now studying in a neighborhood school. I really value the culture and everything's about neighborhood school. Don't get me wrong, I consider BCS as a neighborhood school, as well as Santa Rita, Egan. Everyone here,
Ms. Hill,
we are all neighbors.
Can I ask you to address us, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry. I just want to talk with the legal a little bit. Sorry about that, Mr. Paul. Then the thing is, I want to say, it's a little bit more my personal sharing. I think you guys doing the thing right to protect your own school. I really truly believe that. But as a Chinese, we have a saying, you better not exactly, but many may know, but you cannot build your happiness on people's pain. The eager people, I don't think they never expect they will be put on the other side of El Camino. We live in Los Altos. And you can make counter arguments. A lot of people from the other side of El Camino coming over. But this is their choice. When we bought their homes, we spent so much here. We want to make our kids go into the neighborhood school. And I want to ask all the people here, I don't know the history too much, but I just know, there's no happy settlement yet so far. It's not happy for any of the parents in any of the school, in the neighborhood school, Santa Rita, Egan, and BCS. Some people, they're saying thank you for you guys. I'm sure, yes, you guys paid a lot of time and effort. But have you ever heard of some other parents in the South Campus? They're not happy, they don't want to come over. And this is the first time ever that I don't know too much about the school system here, but I would say BCS will be the first one, if you are really granted the Egan school site, will be the one, have a one chain, according to the Hong Kong way, one chain school system. From kindergarten, elementary school, and then middle school. After 10 years due, I'm sorry, I'm not following the legal terms, but the compromise, it seems from what I know, after 10 years, you guys can change and increase or vary the number of students you want to enroll or something. Does that mean you guys can, build another high school later? And what if you guys now is still at elementary school? Okay, sorry, thank you.
It's okay, thank you very much for your comments. By Zoom?
Good evening. My name is Kai Zhu. I'm a Bullis parent with 2 kids. Thank you, the board, for working so hard on this issue. Before November's election, if you tell me that we will get an Egan, I would think you are crazy. I remember Jill sent out that email announcing the Prop 39 on Egan right before, a few days before the election. The timing was not right. But I was so surprised to see that you have this proposal. And then looking closely at the proposal, it seems to be quite obviously the real deal in this proposal is the affordable housing component. I believe that actually dominates the LSD Bullis issue, because I was told that neither side can afford even a couple millions of legal fee to go through the Prop 39 litigation process. If that's the case, we can clearly see the financial stake of this affordable housing would be much larger. Given Los Altos price, housing price, and the prime location of this site, clearly the teacher union will be happy if they can get 2+ acres of affordable housing. I support the proposal with some reservation, but I think that put us into a bad light, because people will blame Bullis for all those things, especially those residents surrounding Egan. They will feel their house value will go down because of the affordable housing. So I think we probably want to know more details about that component, like how many units will be built, how will those units will be managed, whether they are exclusively for teachers and without true titles, and so on. Otherwise, people will feel that they will not be happy. And I also think that this is bad PR for us, because the teacher union and the LASD did a marvelous job by plugging this component and putting Bullis in the bad light. So how do you deal with that issue? Thank you.
Thank you. That completes the number of speakers who had turned in their slips prior to the first speaker, as I called for all slips to be turned in. We're actually going into a closed session. I do want to thank everybody who came today, and there will be more opportunities to talk. We'll be agendizing this obviously again. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.